Welcome to Push Go, a podcast powered by Plum, where we highlight the defining moments that impact how we live and work. I'm Rick West. Now, for the past 22 episodes, or quick math, about 734 minutes, we've had what we like to call a front row seat into the lives and careers of incredible leaders. You've heard from working mothers, growing entrepreneurs, and everyone in between on their biggest push-go moments. Whether it was starting a new business, choosing family, learning to lead a team, or starting to love Mondays again, each of these people gave significant wisdom and insight for us to learn from. Now, this week on the podcast, we're looking back at some of our team's favorite moments this season. I'll be sure to link all these episodes in the show notes, so no need to push pause and scribble down anything about the episode at this time. Now, the first person I want to highlight is Leslie Godwin. She's a CPG professional turned entrepreneur. She launched the Godwin Retail Group after realizing she valued family and flexibility. And my favorite part was when she was walking through her thought process of being on maternity leave. Listen in.
I think the things that people were telling me about myself when I was on maternity leave were like, oh my gosh, you're so happy. You look so happy.
Outside looking in, you are, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, man, all these people are telling me like, I'm so happy right now. I'm like, probably should like listen to that, you know, like what's different? It's just, you don't realize when you're working so hard, like what else you're sacrificing, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
Like never in 16 years had I had an entire day free, ever. Like I never did. Wow. And so the ability to like arrange your schedule, because as moms, that's all we need. We need flexibility. Like we will crush it. We will do it. We will knock it out of the park. But we need the flexibility to be able to love on our family and be a mom and not have the guilt there.
I love that Leslie mentions that she used the people in her inner circle to help guide and point her in the right direction. Now, the next conversation that stands out in my mind was my talk with Ben Kirksey on finding the right career move for him. He actually worked with me back in the early days, and his take on how to find the right career path was second to none. Listen to Ben tell his story.
And by August, got to a pretty low point. And again, that was from a combination of things. Some that it was just outside my control, and then some that was just had caught up with me, or overcommitment had caught up with me, and just being stretched too thin and really failing in some ways, you know, with a couple of clients that we had. And that was really the moment when I started to ask the question, what do I need to change? Like, is this just a time where I need to process through a hard season and, you know, really learn and grow from that? Or do I really need to do something different? Some people like sales, and it doesn't matter what they're selling. They just love the game of sales. For me, I realized that whatever I did, I needed to be able to connect the actual output of my work with a particular social bottom line.
That's the bread and butter of this podcast. The moment when you ask the right question at the right time. Now, when Ben decided to ask himself what needed to change in order to align his career with his values, that's when his push-go moment happened. I'd encourage you to go back and listen to that episode. It was so good. Now, another person that was faced with a difficult question was actually our very first guest of the season, Brian Storms. Except it wasn't him asking himself a challenging question, it was his leadership. He was asked to lead a team at Hinkle, and it was his response and growth that changed everything. I can't wait for you to listen in to Brian's story.
And so then it was, okay, it's results, right? Like, we'll just get the results. And honestly, that business was in distress. And so I'm going in and trying to fix it and change ways of working, change the culture of that team. And all I had in my mind was results, right? If we can post the results, then we've done what we came here to do. Right. There was a moment, probably a year in, we're posting great results. And I'm taking pride in the fact that, man, like, we came here and we're posting great results. We've turned the culture. And I took pride in the fact that, man, if I were to leave, would it fall apart? And in that moment, I was like, wait a minute. If I left and it fell apart, I have failed miserably as the leader of this team.
And spoiler alert, Brian now leads a stellar team, and his learnings from way back when have helped inform his leadership now. The last person I want to highlight from a fantastic first season of Push Go is Erin Campbell. She worked in an agency setting for many years to fill her love for People Bucket. But during the pandemic, she chose to make the most of her time and start leading a brand from scratch.
But what happened is while everyone was figuring out how to adapt and pivot to this new world, it actually allowed, while they were distracted, everybody else, it allowed us and our co-founders to go heads down deep into the category. Come from a bunch of smart people. And so I was always gravitating towards the scientific data analytic side, but I always had this softer side as well, this emotional side, this, I will call it human side or empathy side, that I felt like in stories and in insight, I didn't have that wording yet when I was young, but that there was something greater beyond what the numbers could tell.
Erin launched Gen Z Brands and did a killer job doing so. Take a look at their site. It'll make your day. Although we only had time to show off 4 of the folks on the episode today, this season was chock full of wisdom, great conversations, and advice for so many stages of life. So thanks for listening to this season of Push Go, a podcast highlighting the defining moments that impact how we live and work. Again, we just gave a flavor of the chats that we had over this chapter, so you can find their full stories on listen.plumshop.com through the show notes of this episode. Now, before you go, please consider giving us a review on Apple Podcast. We love to read your feedback, and it'll help people find us more easily. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.